Welcome back to the Charter Podcast, brought to you by St. Xavier University. We are back. I am here. I am Ruthie Polinsky, and I am so happy, so thrilled to be joined by one of the world's newest fathers, Alex Shapiro, who is back on the Charter Podcast. He is now also a dad. Alex Shapiro, how are you? How is Jake? How is your wife? How are all things in your life?
Thankfully, everybody is doing amazingly. Jake is just the chillest, coolest dude ever. We love our boy so much. We're just so fortunate. Everybody is healthy. Everybody is happy. Nothing can prepare you for having a newborn. You know, even knowing that you're not prepared, you're still not prepared. It's awesome. It's just like it's been the coolest experience ever. So it's great to be back. I'm so happy to be joined by you again, Ruthie, and the Charter. But yeah, fatherhood rules.
Ever since you left, Alex, I mean, whoa, this team, things took a turn. So before we get into kind of the news of the day, I know you're joining us from Halas Hall. For those of us who can't see you, you are at Halas Hall, and I want to go over everything that happened there today. But before we get into that, let's get your thoughts. I know you have some things you want to get off your chest of sort of what you watched when you were catching up on sort of the Bears' last 3, 4, 5 weeks. And I'll let this be just like a little open mic for you to just get it off your chest for a moment.
Cool. So I believe the last podcast I was on, we were talking about the Hail Mary and what a disappointing play for the Chicago Bears, where that Commanders game was setting up to look like, hey, they came back, they did it, they took a lead, and this could be a win that springboards a playoff run. That's what that game felt like. And then all of that was taken away with that Hail Mary, right? And we don't have to rehash that. But what I left it on is, okay, the Bears have dealt with all sorts of adversity in the past and have met that adversity with mixed success, right? And to me, it was how do the Bears respond to this? This is an especially heartbreaking loss. How do they deal with this adversity? Can they rally and get back on track, or will things spiral out of control? Well, we know what happened. Things spiraled out of control. That play seemed to break them. And I'll even go back to the Doug Kramer handoff. I mean, those moments, like the offense just could not get back on track. Things look listless. And I know Shane Waldron got fired, and Shane Waldron deserves some blame for why things went wrong. But I went back and I rewatched the Cardinals game and I rewatched the Patriots game specifically. And I'm going to be honest, I saw problems all over that team. Did Shane Waldron help by having a lot of easy layups for Caleb Williams? At times yes, and at times no. There are some plays where you see them taking shot plays on third down, which, okay, makes sense. Yeah, take a shot play on third down. But there'd be no outlet. There'd be no check down. There'd be no, if none of the three guys streaking down the field got open, here's a break glass in case of emergency. I wasn't seeing that sort of stuff. The things to try and get Caleb Williams out of the pocket, I mean, just didn't look right. Didn't look good. The offensive line was banged up. We have to talk about that too. I mean, they're playing their second left tackle, their third right tackle, who had been filling in at guard in Matt Pryor. Jake Curran, who was on the practice squad, was playing significant snaps. And then Doug Kramer is like guard 4, 5, these are guys who I don't think the Bears were expecting to play, and now they're all playing at once. That's tough. And then Caleb Williams, I think, also legitimately regressed. I think earlier in the year, he was getting the ball out of his hands super fast. He was going 1, 2, 3 through his progressions decisively, throwing accurate balls. And I saw a downtick in that. I saw him holding onto the ball too long at times. I saw him turning down open receivers for whatever reason at times. So did something need to change? Yes. Will Thomas Brown give this offense some extra juice? We'll see. But the Bears did not meet the challenge of rising to that adversity from that Hail Mary play. Things did spiral out of control. And it wasn't just one player. It wasn't just one thing. It wasn't just the offensive line. It wasn't just Shane Waldron. It was everybody. There are times when the wide receivers weren't helping out. uncharacteristic drop balls from guys. So I think it was, like top to bottom, there were issues. Shane Waldron is the change that they made, because you're not going to make it other changes. People are talking about benching Caleb Williams. I don't think that's the answer. Your hands are tied at offensive line due to health. You're not going to go trade for a left tackle. It's just simply not going to happen. So this is the change that they made, because this is the change I think they could make, and we'll see what happens. But again, we'll see if this change gets them back on track, but they got to do something to get back on track.
Yes, they do. And I guess I will just, I go back to the Arizona game, which felt like, okay, let's wash the Hail Mary, let's bounce back, and let's try and get things, going here, and show that we are better than what happened at the end of that game. And I think what was so disappointing for me about that game was just how little urgency I felt from the players, from the game plan, from everything top to bottom, as you mentioned. And I think that's kind of what we've started to see here, is this kind of like non-characteristic Matt Eberflus coach team. And I feel like, even when Matt Eberflus wasn't getting in the win column, it still felt like his teams were playing really hard and physical and tough. And I've just not seen that the last couple of weeks. Now, of course, I agree. I think everyone who's ever been in this city ever knows that the Bears are not going to fire a coach in the middle of the season. And I don't think that's going to change with the situation now. The shakeup in offensive coordinator, as you mentioned, I don't think it's all on Shane Waldron. I do think they needed a change of leadership, a change of voice. And this was the most gimme answer of how to do that at this point. And I think to give life to another coach on the staff who has a lot of credibility, and I want to talk about his press conference today too, but in Thomas Brown, there's something about him that is very energizing. And I knew this about him before, the change was made and before we really heard him get up in front of a podium. I've gotten to know him just over the course of this year. And, in the coaching setting and outside of the coaching setting. And this is a guy that's just exudes confidence and exudes personality and leadership. And so to see him get up there and literally win the press conference today, being thrust into a situation where this isn't his playbook, right? He's going to call plays, but this isn't his playbook. You can't change the playbook right now. So to see him get thrown into a situation with a lot of adversity, a quarterback that's struggling, receivers that don't seem to be clicking with the quarterback, an offensive line in shambles, for him to take this on and to do it with that sort of confidence and that voice is really exciting. I don't care what you say. I know that this isn't going to change the course of what we've just seen, right? Like, this isn't necessarily going to change this team, making Thomas Brown the offensive coordinator. But they could mess around and beat Green Bay. And then what? And then what? Seriously, this is the NFL.
That's where you start.
That's where you start. And you know what? And you see just sort of how things happen in the NFL. It's weird. The best team doesn't always win. And players rally around coaches. And I think Thomas Brown is the perfect sort of symbol of that. I've been loving watching what's happening in New Orleans with Darren Rizzi, who I also, have gotten to know over the years in covering this league and personally, professionally. And that is fun. I mean, to rally around a guy with that sort of energy, not saying that Thomas Brown and Darren Rizzi are the same by any means, but I'm just saying that there's sort of this, the way that teams rally around coaches, it happens. And I think the shakeup was stretched out. They probably could have done this Sunday night, if not Monday morning. Instead, they do it Tuesday when everyone's out of the building. And now Wednesday, they're sort of playing catch up, it feels. But it did feel, Alex, and I want to hear your take because you're there in the building, but it did feel like there is a lot of positivity coming out of there right now.
Yeah, there is. And there's an energy shift. And I think the Bears offense knew that they're like, okay, yeah, this wasn't good enough. And it's a jolt. It's a shock to the system when something like this happens. And it's interesting, the players talk about, yeah, we voiced our frustrations, but we didn't think somebody was going to get fired. And now it's happened. And, that is a jolt. DJ Moore said one thing in particular that really dinged for me as to why things went wrong with Shane Waldron and why things could get better with Thomas Brown. He said he's demanding. And that is something that we saw up there, that demeanor at the podium. Shane Waldron seems like a really great guy. And that's great. Being a great guy is great. But it kind of reminds me of Luke Getsy, who was also a really great guy. And maybe the Bears need a bit of a hard ass. Maybe they need a guy to hold guys accountable better, because that's another thing. I spoke with several offensive players in the locker room, and one theme that came up over and over was, hey, maybe the accountability was kind of lacking. We weren't on our details. You heard DJ Moore talk about it a lot. We could be better detailed. Thomas Brown, the first thing he says when they say, hey, what are some of the problems you saw and how are you going to address it? He goes, there are two things that we can control: our effort and our attitude. It's like, oh, wow, those are the problems, the effort and the attitude. In particular, Bryson Jones said something to me that, again, dinged for me. Hey, I think to get better, we need to not go past some mistakes. We can't treat some mistakes more lightly than others because of who made the mistake. Where I do wonder if the accountability was lacking, the discipline was lacking, that need of a real hard ass. Like, these guys are adults. This is football, right? When mistakes are made, they need to be coached up on them. And if those things were being glossed over before, that can be a slippery slope, And if Thomas Brown is more of a hard ass, does not gloss over those mistakes, holds people to account, makes sure the effort and attention to detail is where it needs to be, that's a good starting point for getting things back on track, because that feels like a bare minimum, right? I mean, that feels like a bare minimum, especially in Matt Eberflus's scheme, principle, philosophy, hits. Like, that's all hits stuff. So I was a little surprised. To hear that was kind of the vibe. So again, DJ Moore saying he is demanding. It might be what this offense needs.
I love it. And, I know we were trying to look forward here, but it's hard not to look back at the hiring of Shane Waldron, because the Thomas Brown personality, who, by the way, did interview to be the Bears offensive coordinator initially, that feels like the personality that fits hits. Also, when you listen to Thomas Brown, you say, wow, that's someone that sounds like he could be a head coach one day. And I think when you look at some of the other candidates that were extremely qualified to be an offensive coordinator, i.e. Cliff Kingsbury, Greg Roman, Kubiak, some of these other guys, those are also maybe future head coaches. I don't know if that's necessarily the personality of Shane Waldron. It doesn't necessarily scream head coach at you. And so it's just hard not to compare and contrast some of the other candidates, because, and I said this on the Big Pro Football Show this week, Alex, I said, let's not forget that when Shane Waldron was hired as the Bears offensive coordinator, it was the national discourse that was the correct hire. The Bears won the offensive coordinator search. They got the right guy based off of his credentials and his experience and everything that he'd been through in his career. So to sit here and say that, Matt Eberflus was wrong in that decision is a little hypocritical when the whole world approved of that decision. I think perhaps his personality didn't fit the personality of this team. And that's something that took a little time to figure out. What are your opinions on just kind of the way that offensive coordinator search went? I mean, they interviewed 9 guys.
Yeah, they interviewed a lot of dudes. I'm not in those rooms, I'm not in those interviews. And again, like, yes, it is revisionist history for us, for anyone to go and say, oh, obviously they got it wrong. because you're right. People did largely applaud it. I did. I was like, oh, these 2 tight end sets are going to be great. The 3 tight end sets. And you know what? Those things have been great. Oh, Luke Getsy didn't have the experience play calling. That was a big detriment. Oh, Shane Waldron is a guy who's called plays for a long time. That's great. You know, these are things we pointed to as why we thought it was a good hire. But then obviously it didn't work out. And now as we try and sit here and go, why did things not go right? These are the types of things that kind of make you scratch your head and say, oh, actually, it was the discipline lacking, was the accountability lacking. But obviously that's all hindsight 2020 stuff. I'm with you. Like everybody was all in on Waldron. It seemed like. So yes, people who were, if anybody is saying, oh, I told you so, that is probably revisionist history.
It's interesting to hear some of the former players from Seattle to kind of some of their previous quotes and those sort of things to like come out now, of course, when you want to be, you know, right or whatever. I think maybe there were some signs that were overlooked, but it clearly wasn't a fit for this team and this quarterback and these players. So
here's the thing. Can I jump in, Ruthie?
Yeah.
There's red flags with all these different guys. Cliff Kingsbury had red flags. I mean, that Cardinals team, when he was the head coach, what an epic collapse that they had with Kyler Murray and a bunch of other talented dudes on that offense. If you wanted Clint Kubiak, I encourage you to go find your local Minnesota Vikings fan. I'm sure we all have a Minnesota Vikings fan, and ask them how they felt about Clint Kubiak running that offense. Greg Roman, right? He built this awesome offense around Lamar Jackson, but they were never able to make it like a super winning formula. The Ravens moved on from Greg Roman for a reason. So again, every guy has his red flags. There's no perfect candidate. So to focus in on Shane Waldron's red flags now, I think is also unfair because all of those other guys also had red flags.
It's a tough business, and it's the nature of the game and this world. And I think you heard a lot of the players say that as well today of, yeah, you know, we expressed our frustrations, but we're never rooting for anyone to lose their job. And I think Bears fans hopefully feel the same, right? They obviously are frustrated, but they weren't excited that someone got fired this week, or at least I hope, because these are human beings. So, yeah, on to the Thomas Brown era. And let's see. I mean, obviously the Bears have a lot of ground to make up, and they're in the toughest division in football, and the schedule couldn't be any harder. So it's going to be an uphill battle for sure. But this may have almost been, let's just clip this, either for good or bad. This could have been the perfect time to make this change, because maybe it's just a little boost and you go beat Green Bay for whatever reason, some fluky thing that happens at Soldier Field. And it's the first time in however many meetings that they beat Green Bay, and holy smokes, the season turns around and Thomas Brown is maybe the head coach next year. I mean, I don't know. I'm just, you know, there are a lot of possibilities here. And I think if you're a Bears fan, you should be feeling good about what's coming out of Halas Hall today.
Yeah, the Bears did something. What was happening wasn't working. And a lot of times this has been a team of just playing out the string, right? And they are not playing out the string at this point. Yeah, look at what happened with the Bears and the change from Alan Williams last season. After week 2, it was like, whoa, what is going on? The defense was terrible. Everything was not good. And then Alan Williams is out. Flus is in as the defensive coordinator, and it did. It sparked something. Flus brought some interesting ideas. He started dialing up more blitzes. He started playing around with dime defenses because, hey, like this is what our good personnel is. So on third downs where we've been terrible, they couldn't stop anybody on third down. We have all these great cornerbacks. Let's play dime. And it worked. And it's interesting that Flus, what does he say he wants out of Thomas Brown in the offense? Creativity. It's probably like that outside of the box thinking that he's looking for, like, hey, I was able to do it on my side of the ball. I got creative and we figured it out. We got it done. Thomas Brown, I need you to be creative. Shane Waldron was not obviously being creative enough. So get outside the box. Think of some.
Be creative, but don't be too creative. Don't hand the ball off to your backup offensive lineman, please. Dear God. hold on. Alex, I want to get into the injury report too, but I feel like we need to give some attention here to Caleb Williams' press conference today. He's been very good about taking the fall for not playing well enough. And I think that needs to be discussed, right? Because there are a lot of things going on. But Caleb Williams needs to play better. And I'm curious to get your reaction on his perspective of that today with a new offensive coordinator.
I think he did. I think he towed the line well, where he was like, hey, you know what? I've still made some good throws. And he has. There are moments in the past couple of weeks where you say, okay, yeah, the offense worked in rhythm on time and everything looked great. It just wasn't consistent. And he raised his hand and admitted, yeah, the offensive line has taken a lot of flack for the 9 sacks that I took the other day, but I held on the ball too long. And some of those sacks are on me. And I think that goes a long way with the teammates in the locker room, that he publicly, casts the blame upon himself and takes a little heat off them. I think that's really important when a locker room in this moment, again, like, how are you going to handle this? Are you going to be galvanized, or are you going to just continue to crumble? That could be a big thing that helps rally that unit around Caleb Williams as he continues to develop as a leader on this team. So yes, that's very big. We saw the same thing out of Flus. Flus's accountability in the past, he had deflected a bit. Today, he was much more accountable and saying, like, yeah, this is my third play caller. That's bad. We got to figure that out. And that starts with me. The buck stops with me on offense, even though I am the defensive dude. He also raised his hand. So I thought accountability, both from QB1 and head coach, was both really solid today.
Agreed. Let's get into the injury report because I think it's interesting. Let's start with the good news. And I'm surprised here, but Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright, both limited. That is good news. Montez Sweat, DNP. Tevin Jenkins, DNP. Jaquan Brisker, man. DNP, and Flus already ruled him out, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he said he'll be out this week.
So that's tough. I mean,
yeah.
We've talked about it a lot on this podcast. Yeah, that's tough. So let's talk about some of the other things, and if you could just recap kind of the sentiment you got from Matt Eberflus when he kind of did his injury opening statement situation.
Yeah, I think it's concerning right away when he opens and basically says Quan's still going to be out this week as he goes through the protocol. That's extremely concerning beyond for the football team. Now it's concerning for the player. I mean, he suffered that concussion in week 5. We are in week 11. And it's been multiple concussions for Jaquan Brisker. And now you just want this guy to get healthy for himself.
Yeah.
So that's first and foremost. I think the Bears are fortunate, now bringing it back to football, that Elijah Hicks, I think, has been one of the most improved players on this football team. He was a guy where it was like, I don't know if this guy's a reliable depth piece last year, to he's played some pretty bang up strong safety for this team. So that has been good. Continuing on with the good, if Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright can both play next week, I think that alone makes the offense look a whole lot better, because now you can put Matt Pryor back in at left guard. You have Ryan Bates back in right guard, and things are looking way more solid. And that helps in everything. That helps in the run game. That helps in the pass game. It helps even in the screen game. Like the Bears tried to run some screens against the Patriots, but it was just totally disjointed, where they couldn't even get the guys like out front on time properly. So those truly little details, it feels like little details, make a huge, huge impact. So that is very good. Tevin Jenkins, I mean, this is unfortunately in the story of his career, is that he has had trouble staying on the field. And again, I think the Bears are fortunate that they have a guy like Matt Pryor, who has really turned into a potential MVP on that offensive line, playing literally every position except center, I think. Like, that dude's played everywhere. He's played everywhere. And he's been, again, pretty solid as a super sub. So from a health standpoint, it seems like the guys are getting better. Montez Sweat is interesting. Montez Sweat, I think, is going to be worth monitoring. I wonder if it's just like, hey, let's get you this extra GMP because do you really need the practice reps? Like, you know what you're doing. So do we just really want you to rest up so you're 100% for Sunday? Or is this something that's going to keep him out on Sunday? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have a good feel for that right now. And that is also going to be very big.
Did Flus say anything like, we'll see where it goes? Or was he pretty positive? Do you remember?
Let me look it up. I don't remember. I don't know.
It's always, you kind of like can get a feel for it. We'll see where it goes.
I was probably like typing out. I was probably typing out my tweet about Jaquan Brisker, like half listening. No mention, I don't think. And Tez will then be out with an ankle for practice today. But as you guys saw, we released Nate Davis today. So he just went right into Nate Davis.
Well, perfect. Let's get into it. Thank you for transitioning for us, Flus. Nate Davis is out. Long time coming here. And I think the timing of this is so interesting because it kind of feels like it's a new era, like it's like this time of, we got to lock in and we're going to make changes and we're not messing around. Nate, goodbye. Obviously, I think what happened this past week, something weird with the back and they told him not to come and whatever. Sent home. So I think that was a big, sort of culmination of a lot of frustration when it comes to Nate Davis not putting in the work and not being on the field and all the money that is now getting thrown into midair. Sayonara. I mean, I think there's sort of Orion Pohl's admission of, this was a swing and a miss, and it was a big one. And he made the statement. So, unfortunately, general managers aren't going to bat 1,000. Yeah. So this was one that hurts. There have been a couple that have been pretty disappointing. I think you could probably put the Chase Claypool move in there. Pop them in if you think of any, but those were two that I think are probably the most catastrophic when you think about the resources that were poured into acquiring those players.
Right.
So no Nate Davis. That era has ended.
So 2 thoughts on this. One good, one bad. Which one do you want first?
Let's go. Let's end on a high note. Let's do bad then good.
Okay. So what's concerning to me about this is that I think there's a troubling trend of Ryan Poles misevaluating offensive linemen, which is supposed to be his bread and butter. And as you said, there are going to be misses. And Ryan Poles has actually had, I think, more hits than misses, which is good. And we should give him credit for that.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah, this one didn't work out, but TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, Kevin Byard, Montez Sweat, DeAndre Swift, there have been a lot of hits. He's been
and all the players you've invested in. Jalen Johnson, keeping him here, extending him, getting DJ, obviously all the picks and the trades and all that stuff. But agree with you, there have been a lot of really, really good Ryan Poles moves.
So I'm not going to ding him on missing on a free agent. It's gonna happen. It happens. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't seem like the answers on the offensive line have been like as strong of answers as you would like to. Braxton Jones is a good left tackle. Is he a dynamite left tackle? I still don't know. Like, he's serviceable, and that's good, and serviceable is good. But is he upper echelon? I still think that remains to be seen. Darnell Wright, has he played at the all-pro level that some people thought he could when they drafted him with a top 10 pick? Again, he's been good. But has he been dynamite? Like, I don't know. And then you look all over the interior. The decisions that have been made to bring guys in. Lucas Patrick, Ryan Bates, they tried to get him twice. Coleman Shelton, a lot of the guys that they've brought in to play on the offensive line, I think have been good, not great. And you need great players on the offensive line. I think that's probably how I would summarize the offensive line as a whole. They're solid. I think they're better than a lot of people give them credit for. But are they a top 5 unit? Nah, like I don't think they're close to a top 5 unit. But again, they're good. Are they top 15? Potentially. And again, this is supposed to be Ryan Poles' bread and butter. So it's just like another minute. Did I say Lucas Patrick? Did I add him to the mix?
I think you did. I was going to Cody Whitehair. I mean, here we go. Let's, keep them coming.
Right, exactly. So Jatari Carter, he's a late round pick, but these are guys that have been around a while. So
and we know that offensive linemen don't grow on trees. When you get them, you hang on to them and you never let them leave. So it's hard. It's very hard.
Opportunities to add more highly touted players, and Darnell Wright was a highly touted player. So that's not fair. But, there have been high profile free agent offensive linemen that the Bears have not gone out and signed. There have been other players in the draft that, the Bears have opted to take day 3 guys instead. So there could have been further investment in the offensive line. There could have. And the guys, it feels like there's more misses than hits on the O-line up to this point. Now, the good news, I'll give you the good news now.
Thank you.
I think this continues a great trend of Ryan Poles kind of cutting bait when it's time to cut bait. We saw that with the Chase Claypool deal. It's not like, hey, I traded away a super highly valuable pick, the number 32 overall pick in the draft, essentially, to get this guy. So we got to make it happen. We got to figure it out and we got to save face here. No. They turned him loose.
He holds on a little too long.
Maybe. Velus Jones held on. He held on.
We hung on for a year.
They did cut him, though. They did cut him in the middle of year 3.
They did.
They didn't play out his rookie contract. Nate Davis, our guy who they cut, and other free agents who didn't make the grade. It's not like they're sticking around. Like, they've let those guys go.
And I think there's something to say for a general manager and a head coach who want to bring in a player who's maybe not, highly touted, but not living up to trying to give players like a new situation, change of scenery. Like, there's something to say for general managers and head coaches that want to give players a second life or an opportunity. And I think you have to have a really strong foundation of an organization to do that. And the Bears, just as much as they want to be there, they're just not there yet. And so to bring in a Nate Davis, especially last year when it was still part of this rebuild, whatever you want to call it. Chase Claypool came, when it was Matty Eberflus's first year, that culture wasn't sustainable yet. It wasn't there yet. So there's something to say for wanting to give players that second life, but and taking risks and, being a little aggressive when it comes to certain things because you believe in your decision-making and evaluation process. But there's also something to say for general managers that can say, I was wrong. And this isn't helping our team win right now. So, shout out Ryan Poles for all of the above.
Shout out. All
right, Daddy Shapiro, where are you going tonight? What's the dinner plan for the baby? Are we going home? Are you sad that you're back at work? Like, do you miss him? What's the plan?
I definitely miss him. Was definitely texting my wife for updates like, hey, how's everything going? This is my first time, really, an extended time away from him ever.
Wow.
Like we have been our own little nucleus and it's been wonderful. I have 2 friends coming over. They're bringing over a little Cafe El Tapatio. So we're getting some bomb Mexican food. And that's our plan. And who knows what happens after that? Maybe some below deck med. We've been burning through below deck med lately. I'm sure that's great. Is that good to have Bravo drama like seeping through his skull through osmosis? He's probably too young to understand it yet, right? Or do we need to change the channel, Ruthie? What do you think?
No. It's better than him listening to the Bears lose all the time. No, I'm just teasing.
Well, he's done that twice now too.
He's done that too, right? Yep. Couple of diaper changes, I'm sure, in the mix there. A couple of feeding sessions.
Yeah, probably 2, 3, 10, 12, 100 million.
Oh my gosh. Have kids, they say. Here I am, just.
It is cool. It is cool. Like I thought I was going to be grossed out by all of the bodily fluids.
When it's your own, it's different.
It's so chill. It's like, oh, whatever. It's actually hilarious. It's very funny. Kate and I have burst out laughing multiple times at just like the projectile nature of all bodily fluids. You can't help but laugh. You cannot help but laugh because it was very funny.
Of course. Alex Shapiro, anything else you want to talk about for the Bears?
I think we covered it. Thomas Brown, creativity. We'll see what he dials up. Will he be the hard ass the Bears potentially need? Yeah.
Caleb we'll actually talk about Green Bay on Friday. We're actually going to talk about the opponent at some point this week, maybe. Today, we will do that on Friday. Today was not the day.
This all happened today. Wait, no, today's Wednesday. Some of it happened yesterday, and then the Bears.
Some of it happened yesterday. We all talked about it today.
Time is also meaningless for me right now. It's
of course.
What is
for all of us?
I am just
we're living
sometimes, and I'm asleep sometimes.
Alex Shapiro, as always. Yeah, you're exactly. Alex Shapiro, great stuff as always. We'll do this again on Friday, and we'll talk more Green Bay. I'm Ruthie Polinsky. He's Alex Shapiro. This is the Charter Podcast. Thanks to St. Xavier University for bringing this to us every week. We'll see you on Friday, everyone.